She's looking at you differently now, not with less interest, but with calculation. And if you miss these 7 signals, you won't realize she's quietly sorting you into a category that's hard to escape. By the time this ends, you'll understand what's really happening beneath her words, why her desire follows rules no one ever explained to you, and what you must recognize before the window closes. You've felt the confusion already, the mixed signals that don't quite add up. She seems interested, she reaches out, she laughs at what you say, yet something feels misaligned. There's a hesitation that contradicts her enthusiasm, an invisible resistance that appears every time you try to move things forward. Most men assume this is about timing, chemistry, or her not being ready, but it isn't. What you're witnessing is the desire partition, the psychological process women use to separate men they're attracted to from men they feel raw lust for. The harsh reality is that the clearest signs of physical desire are the very signals she's been conditioned to hide, suppress, or deny until she feels safe from judgment. If you can't recognize them, you end up in the attraction zone, appreciated and respected, but never deeply wanted. Once you see the difference, it becomes obvious. It's the gap between being the man she likes and the man she can't stop thinking about when she's alone. Between being the one she settles for and the one who occupies space in her mind without permission. The first clue is how she tightly controls the pace of escalation and then quietly breaks her own rules. She establishes boundaries early, says she wants to take things slow, avoids physical escalation at first, all of which sounds healthy and reasonable, but then she contradicts herself. She leans into you in ways that invite touch, rests her hand on your chest while laughing, or creates moments of privacy where those rules would naturally dissolve. When you don't respond, she doesn't confront you, she just pulls back slightly, then tests again later. Most men misread this as confusion, so they become overly cautious, waiting for verbal permission and creating even more distance, thinking that's what respect looks like. But she knows what she wants. The boundary isn't meant to stop you, it's meant to filter you. It exists to see if you can read what she's communicating beneath her words. From her perspective, she can't openly tell you to ignore it without defeating its purpose. It separates men who understand subtext from men who need everything spelled out, men who can hold tension from men who freeze under it. Respecting her doesn't mean rigidly obeying every spoken rule, it means responding to her actual comfort level. When she leans in, she's comfortable. When she creates privacy, she's inviting intimacy. When her actions contradict her words, that contradiction is the real message. The second clue is how she engineers privacy and then frames it as coincidence. She invites you over to watch something, asks for help at her place, offers to drive and chooses a quiet route, all while presenting it as logistics. This isn't accidental. Being sexually forward carries social and psychological costs for women, so instead of stating desire directly, she creates situations where you're meant to interpret it. This gives her plausible deniability and emotional protection. If you respond by asking for permission at every step, you destroy the tension she carefully constructed, not because you're being respectful, but because you're signaling uncertainty and forcing her to verbalize what she intentionally made nonverbal. The alternative is calibration, noticing the privacy, reading her body language, escalating gradually, and allowing her space to stop you without needing to reject you verbally. The third clue appears when she shares vulnerability and then watches how you handle it. She tells you something personal, a fear, a past wound, an insecurity, and then she observes your reaction. She's not asking for advice or fixing. She's checking whether you'll judge, pity, or try to control her with it. Lust requires a specific kind of trust, the trust that her unfiltered self won't be used against her. If you react with discomfort, over-reassurance, or solutions, you show that you can't handle her depth. What opens the door is calm acknowledgement, matching her tone and showing that her complexity doesn't unsettle you. The fourth clue is how she references other men. She mentions an ex, a coworker, someone who noticed her, not to provoke jealousy, but to measure your emotional position. Indifference suggests you don't care. Insecurity suggests you're dependent on her validation, and both disqualify you. The response that passes the test is relaxed confidence, acknowledging her desirability without being threatened by it, which silently communicates self-worth and abundance. The fifth clue shows up in indirect physical escalation. She doesn't grab your hand, she moves closer. She doesn't initiate the kiss, she positions herself so it would be effortless. These are invitations designed to preserve her ego if you don't respond. Waiting for certainty in this system guarantees you'll miss the moment, because certainty would require her to risk explicit rejection. Proximity, positioning, and light touch are her language, and pulling back out of caution often reads as disinterest to her. The sixth clue is in the way she asks about your past, not for facts, but for depth, unpredictability, and edge. She's inviting you to reveal the part of you that isn't polished or safe, because desire feeds on mystery and intensity. Overly modest or sanitized answers close the door she's opening. What matters isn't impressing her, but showing comfort with your own complexity.